I always wanted a sailboat. Always. But the joke is I don't have one. But I can paint one. Anyway, we're gonna paint a boat scene. Couple of characters, endless horizon. We'll try to paint a little dramatic. We'll try to capture the light and atmosphere. What else? In this study of mine, the main thing we are going to practice and see is the gradation of water and the paint. So we are going to practice a dramatic sky, dramatic water, dramatic beach, dramatic people, dramatic boats, dramatic everything. Let's start the drawing. I'm drawing the horizon first and then the beach. It's going to be a fairly simple drawing. Now, let me quickly show you the boat I'm drawing. We are trying to match the reference, but not entirely. I'm going to simplify the process. So I'm going to simplify the boat. And obviously, a little bit of adjustment here and there. We have a pretty big sky, a little bit of water. We have a medium shape on the beach, off the beach basically. And now let me just quickly give a reference of the character who's sitting on the boat. Alrighty, that's water on paper, because the sky I'm going to do would be wet into wet or wet on wet, however you want to say it. That's okay, same thing. Now I'm just giving it a quick wash of water, plain water, almost nothing. It just has a little bit of color. Now look at the way the brush is moving, quite random, a little bit of orange. If you notice, I have a white spot in the middle. I didn't touch it because I am going to have sun over there, red color now. It's simple flow, just move your hand. It's very easy to do. The tricky thing is how much pigment and color you have to pick. So approximately semi-dry, heavy pigment on quite a bit of wet paper. So they are going to mix automatically and create a beautiful sky. Evening, evening, evening. Now, I'm creating a little bit of purple for the top, maybe down here. So the orange will blend with it and they'll get slightly neutralized. There we go. Okay, next step. Look at this. I'm adding a little bit of red and brown. That will be burnt sienna, and a little bit of vermilion there. Couple of white marks over here with a tissue. So we have a beautiful rays, and that's a sparkling white over there. There we go. Now I'm wetting up the paper over here, especially to dilute the paint. So we'll have a little bit of soft edges and also fairly light color water on the top, and as we come down it's slightly warmer. Now the strokes that you see on the board, it's quite plain and simple. Wiping it out a little bit, so we'll have a little bit of white horizon, because when the sky is so lit in the middle, we'll have some lit areas on the water as well. Quite a bit of dark pigment now. It's more of burnt sienna mixed with a little bit of vermilion, a little bit of blue to create a dark beach. Look at that. Look at that. We have a fancy color. Now what happens is, the beach is basically a kind of a choice, but it should have the warmer colors of the sky and also a little bit of coolness of water. So kind of a wet sand, not quite dry, but eventually the whole painting will get dried up. There we go. what else? Let it dry. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to create some highlights here. Now, look at the sky, how they blended and automatically they created some serious textures. The paper is dry, literally. And now, the boat. I'm adding a little bit of dark color to make it quite neutralized, almost blackish, brownish, but cooler. So I'm going to start with this small details over here. It's most of the things which I just wanted to suggest rather than extreme detailing. Dramatic, everybody. Things should be dramatic. The atmosphere should look quite fancy. It's late afternoon or evening. The guy is resting on the boat. He's tired. No more fishing, no more sailing. So that's all we want. And quite a bit of dark colors now. Let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little more depth here. I'm isolating the main character by adding slight contrast. There we go. Very light outlining, a little bit of designing over there. Maybe he's hanging some of his clothes, so I'm not going to do those, but a little bit of suggestion would do. Now, little bit of dark color again. Now this is going to be primarily slightly lighter because we are going to do a lot of dark colors at the bottom. Let me show you. There we go. One more shade and one more darker shade. Just like this. Look at that. Quite dark, but they'll blend. That's the trick. They'll blend and they will create a brilliant texture automatically. Let them blend. Watercolor should not be controlled too much unless and until you're trying to do something hyper-realistic. So there we go. I like quite a bit of impressionism. I used to do that in oil painting, and I also try to do with watercolor. There we go. Some details here and there. Those white areas are highlights. Now I'm going to keep them white, or maybe I'll just make them slightly darker, slightly. Now it's more of a reflection and shadow mix. Ultimately, that area will be slightly white because of the boat's color. Look at this. Those are a little bit of lines on the water just to show some wavy structures, and we have some patches on the beach. It's quite random, slightly abstract here and there to show some textures on the beach. Now, let me quickly show you. There we go. All the colors I'm mixing. If you notice, all the colors that I mix, it's more of neutral, slightly warmer, or maybe slightly cooler here and there. But the entire painting is going to be on the warmer side. So I'm just trying to make some suggestions of a distant island. I don't know. It can be any island. It's your painting, you can make any island. Now, look at this. Normally, a lot of people, they don't recommend to touch your watercolor paper, but that's okay. Why not? A little bit of soft edges, dampening the paper a little bit. There we go. Nice. So we have a long beach right now. Let's see. Next step would be to create some warmer color. Look at this. It's quite reddish. There we go. Just like that. Just like that. Wow. Okay. Be bold, guys. Now it's a speed video, so obviously things will look, you know what? This guy is like actually going crazy. But it's true and not true at the same time. I'm actually making it slow, but the video is fast. Obviously, you know that already. Nothing to hide. But you get an idea. Lighter on the beginning, at the top, and darker slightly at the bottom, because the foreground should always be slightly darker than the background. Dramatic beach. That's what I call it. Dramatic. Check this out. Patch, drag, there we go. And now dry brushing, just to show some details over here. One more there. As he's not sailing, things are just simply there. Some marking. If you notice, the painting is basically almost finished. I'm just trying to add a couple of ornaments here and there. That's the dark line over there. That's not really required, but I'm just trying to match the reference that I use at least a little bit to justify what I'm trying to do. There we go. Legs, a little bit of dark color on the body, maybe something he's wearing, maybe he's just not wearing anything. Doesn't really matter. Now some ropes. Here we go. Maybe here a little bit. There we go. Dramatic ropes. Look at the boat now. You know what? I really like it. Okay, now notice. Now the light is actually almost diagonal. So we are not gonna get too much shadow, but look at that. A little bit of warmth. That's not required. I just added to superimpose the colors. A little bit of patches, so they'll come down, create some textures on their own. Remember, try not to control watercolor too much unless and until you're trying to do something which is hyper realistic. There we go. Quite happy. Look at that. The way they're blending, they're creating those cauliflower kind of effect. Lighter paint, pigment, and water on a almost semi-dry surface. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna connect them like this. And look at this. Now what will happen is the boat's color, it doesn't really have a color. It's more of white and brown. It looks quite warmer because of the sunlight, and they are gonna bleed into the foreground. Some jewelry over here. Jewelry, I mean by a couple of details. There we go. Now what I'm gonna do is, oh, the paper is dried up. Did that just happen automatically? No, of course not. I fast forward the thing. Now, as the paper is dry, minute details are going to happen. Look at this. I'm just trying to create a little bit of shadow. There we go. Yeah, good enough. Now, the legs slightly. It's quite abstract. Just a suggestion that somebody is actually sitting over there, chilling out, maybe drinking a beer, or obviously he cannot make coffee on the beach. Maybe he can. I don't know. That's okay. He's just chilling out. There we go. That looks good. So now if you notice, we have a pretty bright, sunny, but evening. And the water is quite a bit of, how do I put it? The water is actually shiny, glittering, and it's not exactly white or green or blue. It's quite warm. Now look at this. A little bit of touch-up. And the beach, it's brownish. It has texture. And also the boat, they have quite a bit of details. Only the necessary ones that I felt. Now if you want to add something, definitely go ahead and do it. It's your boat, it's your painting. But for me, it's good enough. You know what? I really hope that you understood a couple of techniques, how evening might look on a semi-realistic way, a little bit of abstraction here and there, and a little bit of realistic touch-up, but quite dramatic. Look at the sky. Now, birds. There we go. Maybe 2, 3, maybe 4. I don't know. I'm just having fun. So the painting is finished. And what I want you to do is just pay attention, go back and forth and see how exactly the details work, and that's all there is. So the painting is finished, and all I have to say, pay attention to the shadows, the tonal values, highlights, really important. Also, when you practice, try not to make the painting absolutely dark. That's just garbage. But you're practicing, so keep practicing, keep learning, keep exploring, and like my video. So keep learning, keep practicing, and if you have any questions, just write down in the comment section down below. Or what else? Have fun. That's the best thing you can ever have with watercolor. It's a fantastic medium. I just love it, love it. Anyway, take care. I'll see you in the next video.